Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week, and this week I had 14 comics. I go least favorite to best pick of the week, and everything in between. So 14 is a pretty average amount of books for me, so let's get started. Number 14 this week was the Fantastic Four issue 18. So, the Fantastic Four, I've been really enjoying this series, but I haven't been really liking this arc. I really feel like this is actually some of Dan Slott's best work for the series. Like I said, I like his voice a lot for the series. But with this arc, they're in space, and there's so many characters being thrown at you. Johnny has a new soulmate. Sue and Reed are working together. And in this issue in particular, the Thing is kind of caught up in almost killing somebody, and Sue kind of saves the day. But I feel like that emotional beat was probably the best part of the issue, but everything in between, I just felt like it was very cluttered, and you don't really get the character moments as much as you could because there's just so much going on. Also, there were multiple artists on here. You definitely noticed that towards the end, and I'm not a big fan of that. When it comes to comics, I honestly rather have a comic be delayed than have like 5 different artists in a book. Here it was 2 different artists, but it was a bit jarring for this issue, which another comic this week had a similar issue. But Fantastic Four issue 18 gets 2 stars, and that is number 14. Moving on to number 13, which is Batgirl issue 83, issue 43. And, you know, obviously I'm not dropping this book. There's 2 series I will never drop, and that's The Amazing SpiderMan and Batgirl. And I haven't been liking Batgirl in a while, honestly. I feel like there just hasn't been much of a direction for this character, and here it's kind of proven. It's this somewhat filler issue where we get to see Barbara's reading this fantasy book. This fantasy comes to life, and there's a lot of exposition about it, and it's about her love life between her feelings for Dick Grayson, who has not really been mentioned in this series, and Jason Bard, who honestly is not too likable, so I don't really know what Babs sees in him. Especially, like, it just seems like he really likes her, so when he is face-to-face to her, it's fine, but he doesn't like Batgirl. His views are interesting, so not a big fan of Jason, and this whole love triangle that kind of exists, and Dick Grayson's kind of thrown into it. And I feel like a lot of Barbara's stories as of recently always has to do with her love interest, and for me, I am a Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon fan, and I feel when they're together, it's more of this equal storyline. It's not just Barbara, head over heels for Dick Grayson. It's usually them fighting together or partnering together to do something. With these other love interests, it's usually just pining, and especially with Jason. So, not a huge fan. I do think the artwork improved here, though. It's, I really did not like the artwork for the last arc at all. I thought it was very messy, but here it's a bit cleaner and works for this fantasy storyline they're trying to go for, but not really a fan of this one. So, I'm giving this 2 stars, and that is number 13. Moving on to number 12, which is probably the bigger book or biggest book that came out this week, and that is Wonder Woman issue 750. Yeah, this is Jim Lee's cover, so I think that's like the 2010 version of it. So I thought that was the best cover of them all. And with Wonder Woman, I have not been reading this series, so I will say I think you're going to get a lot more if you've been reading it, but as a Wonder Woman fan, I am a fan of the character, but can never get into her stories. Weirdly enough, I like her in books that are not her own. I've enjoyed the Greg Rucka stuff, but I feel like everyone enjoys that. But here, it's very much you have to be a hardcore Wonder Woman fan to, I think, really enjoy it. The first story and what leads through it and bleeds through it is Wonder Woman getting arrested and really having to deal with, I'm guessing, what's been going on with Cheetah in this book. So wasn't a huge fan of that, or really any of the stories that grabbed me. I would say if you're going to pick this up, it's probably for that last chapter with Scott Snyder, which people are talking about DC 5G, and this kind of delves into that a bit more. For me personally, I haven't really been invested in the whole DC 5G thing that's coming. Nothing has really convinced me to be excited, but we'll see. And this one's just showing that the timeline is shifting and Wonder Woman appearing a little earlier than she was supposed to. So for people following that timeline, I guess that's interesting for some people, but wasn't totally interesting for me. So overall, I gave this 2 stars. It's obviously really expensive. it's like $9, I think, $10. Doesn't even have, yeah, $10 for this book. So definitely has a lot of stories, but just nothing that really blew my mind. But I will say the artwork is probably what impressed me the most. I like seeing Nicola Scott the most. I thought she did a really great job. So artwork was pretty solid throughout. So giving that 2 stars, and that is number 12, I believe. All right, we're moving on to number 11, another new book that I tried out, but wasn't sure if I was going to like it or not, and that is Guardians of the Galaxy issue 1. So Guardians, I've only read, I mean, I've always tried Guardians, of course, but the only one I've, like, read through the whole series is the Kitty Pryde run, because, like I said about Batgirl and Spider-Man, series-wise, Kitty Pryde, anytime she's in a book, I'm gonna pick it up. So, I read all the way through the Kitty stuff, and I enjoyed that run for Guardians. But this is very space-driven, and if you guys have been following me for a very long time, you guys know I'm not really big on cosmic stories in general, and especially Marvel cosmic stories, and this dives into that. So I feel like if you were reading Donny Cates' run, you'll probably have a better feel of this, but it like I said, it dives into more of that storyline. But I like the family aspect. The team is learning to be family, which was cool. Artwork is pretty solid overall. There's this Hercules cliffhanger that I think if people are fans of that character, will get a lot more out of that. But overall, not enough for me to want to pick up the next issue, but I definitely think the people that have been enjoying Guardians will continue to like it, and Ewing has a cool flavor to it. So Guardians of the Galaxy issue 1 gets 2.5 stars, and that is number 11. Moving on to number 10, talking about multiple artists being on a book, and that is Shazam issue 10. I enjoyed the family stuff a lot. I like that we're seeing the family get bigger with Billy's biological father, and then the wizard staying there. We got Tawny staying there. So the house is definitely getting a bit bigger of people being there. So I enjoyed that, and then there's an interesting cliffhanger where the wizard strikes down Billy's dad. So is the wizard evil at all? Like, you know, a person's usually a good guy. Like, what's going on? What's his motive? So I'm curious about that. The other stuff that they're building towards with the other villains, I didn't really like. It was very exposition heavy. I also didn't really like this current villain at all. It's been 10 issues. I'm like, all right, let's pass this evil Peter Pan character. I was kind of getting bored with him, but I liked the character interactions enough to say pick up this issue. And the artwork for... I don't know which artist did this, but like the beginning artwork I thought was really good, but then when it was cutting to a bit more of a messier style, it was like, okay, that's a bit jarring. It's a completely different style, and it felt kind of random the places that they used it. So Shazam issue 10 for me gets 3 stars. Definitely like the family stuff, but still kind of has some hiccups for me, but at least it's on time again. So moving on to number 9, this did drop down a couple slots than last time, but that is Batman issue 37. So Batman, I enjoyed last issue because it had a lot of heart. It had to do with Bruce dealing with Alfred's death. Also, you got a little bit more of Catwoman and Batman working together. I like the way they were setting up the villains for the most part. This one's very villain heavy, and I feel like it's a lot to bite off for first arc. You have like Deathstroke, you have Cheshire, you have Penguin, you have the Riddler. There's just way too much going on in this issue, but also not enough. Like, there's not a lot of plot going on. There's just a lot of characters that they're trying to utilize. The small moments I did enjoy probably honestly were Catwoman and Batman. I enjoyed their small moments and them working together, and that was a little bit more hard for me. Also, the action's really good for this book. We do have a nice action sequence between Cheshire and Batman, which was really cool. And then the end with Penguin with all these guns is like, all right, is he the mastermind? Like, what? This is Penguin we're talking about. Then the Riddler looked like really weird and bony, and that was kind of creepy. So I really liked the artwork a lot for this book, but I felt like it did lose a little steam from that first issue. Hopefully it finds itself again with issue 3. So Batman issue 87 gets 3 stars, and that is number 7. No, that was number 9. Moving on to number 8, which is Captain Marvel issue 14. And Captain Marvel, I was excited with that cover because, you know, Jen and Carol, they're good friends. We've seen it even in this arc, and I'm like, all right, I'm ready for them to fight, and that's the last page of this issue. I'm like, no, I thought the whole issue was going to be about their fighting. And something that I haven't been really liking about this arc is that I feel like all the cards were shown way too soon, and that's really affecting the story here. I wish things were kept a bit of a mystery and that you still think Carol's the bad guy, but I guess there's a hiccup with that because, like, Carol was the bad guy in Civil War II, and that was, like, recently enough where you're like, oh, do you want to see her as the bad guy again? And fans kind of blame her for being the bad guy. So I understand why showing your cards kind of had to be the option, but as a story, I'm just not as invested in it. But I like the action sequences a lot. I think that's what I've been enjoying. I love her costume. I think the design is really cool. Artwork's really good for this book. But yeah, the story, I don't love how much was revealed, like I said. But there are some funny parts. I like that Tony and Thor are very bored in this little pocket dimension and don't even have games to play. So I thought that was fun. But yeah, Captain Marvel issue 14 gets 3 stars, and that is number 7. Moving on to number 8. This is number 7. And number 7 is Batman Curse the White Knight issue 6. And again, if you've been following the show for a long time, you know, as I've read this book, I haven't really been liking Azrael, and I continue not to really like Azrael. And this is a big chunk of exposition about his past and how he's connected to the Waynes. But the thing that really saved this issue for me was Harley and Batman. We get to see Harley go face-to-face with the Joker and Jack as well. And the ending where Harley Quinn shoots the Joker, like, in the head. So is the Joker dead finally in this universe? And Harley being the one to pull the trigger, even though she, you know, her loved one, which was Jack, was the one to tell her to pull the trigger. So I thought that was really interesting. Not really feeling the rest of the plot, but I think the character beats really saved this, and obviously the artwork. I love how dark it is, and it's cool that Sean Murphy is doing this whole book pretty much and balancing all of that. So giving that 3 stars, and that is number 7. Moving on to number 6, which is Marauders issue 6. And this issue I think would have been a lot higher if it was just that last part. So there's a lot of build-up to get to here. I like the action a lot. I liked how Kitty used her phasing powers throughout, and that was a lot of fun, and just seeing the rest of the team actually part of the action, because that's kind of been a nitpick of mine, is that the team hasn't really interacted that much. But the villains I didn't quite care about. But then we got to the ending, where we get to see Kitty and, why can't I think of his name right now? Shaw, the Black King. He goes up against Kitty and says, hey, like, you're ruining my plans, I'm gonna kill you. And kind of the revelation of, if she can't go through Krakoa, that means she can't be resurrected either, and she's drowning by the end of the issue. So I would love that part. It was like a good 5 issues. I love their back and forth. I just kind of wish that was the rest of the issue, but it shows promise definitely for that next issue of how is Kitty Pryde going to survive, and what does this mean for the mythology of Krakoa and Kitty's connection to it. So Marauders issue 6 gets 3.5 stars, and that is number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is Basket Full of Heads, issue 4. This is the highest this book has been, but I really felt like it found its footing with this issue, where it's kind of this balance of, is our main character a final girl or the slasher herself? And I really enjoyed that, and she's cutting off people's heads and kind of realizes, oh, I might have done something wrong. And then she tries to go to someone she trusts, or thought she trusted, and he traps her. So again, it's this really interesting back and forth of being a victim and not being a victim, and that balance of it all. And I love the artwork and the pacing of the artwork, and just how many horrific elements it does have, but still some nice brightness and good character work. So overall, gave that 4 stars, and that is number 5. Moving on to number 4, which is Vampironica New Blood, issue 2. So Vampironica, I thought this was a really solid issue. I enjoyed the story about Kevin and him definitely utilizing his vampirism as a code, I guess. as a code of being gay. So I thought that was interesting without him saying that he was gay. So that was cool. And then also we get to see the villain who was not a vampire and became a vampire because of Kevin and how that's interacting with Veronica's father. So there's definitely some more mystery and character mystery being unveiled here as Betty and Archie are like, what's going on? What? So I enjoyed this issue. I thought it was very solid. Like I said, I enjoyed Kevin and Veronica probably the most in this issue, but it was nice to see Veronica also, I was going to say Dilton, interacting here and trying to figure out the mystery together as well. And the artwork is really solid and clean for this one. So giving that 4 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3, which is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue 47, and this was also a really solid issue where we get to see some interesting character beats, especially between Trini and pretty much everybody. I love Trini in this issue, where we get to see Trini and Kimberly not really on the best of terms, which is weird because they're best friends, but because Trini lied, Kimberly's not happy, and Trini's trying to explain herself, and it doesn't go quite well. And then we get to see Trini and Zordon have a heart-to-heart where Zordon's like, you don't have to tell me everything. I trust you guys. I have faith in you. Just let me help. And I love that kind of father figure moment between the two. And then the last moment I really enjoyed was Trini and, I was going to say Karen, but that's Aisha. Karen's the actress's name. But I really enjoyed that because Aisha, since the beginning, is like, hey, are we just temporary? Do we matter in this battle, or, are these powers going to be taken away from us? And Trini's like, no, you wouldn't have been given these powers if you didn't deserve them. And then Aisha by the end pretty much says, yeah, but you lied to everyone about being an Omega Ranger. Why should I trust you now? Especially because they don't quite know each other. But I like how it is tying into the mythology of how they did meet. Is like, yeah, they did know the Rangers were I would say they knew the Ranger secret identity, so that's kind of why they became Power Rangers, and they were the perfect fit after the actors wanted to leave. And I also do love that moment of Kimberly just spewing out, it's like, you're supposed to be at like a Peace Corps, a peace conference, and you end up being Omega Rangers. So I enjoyed those aspects, and there's a slight build up to what's going on in the background with the previous Omega Ranger member and how that's all going and the more villainous plan. That's a bit slower in this issue, but definitely builds up in an interesting way. Definitely some good character moments here. I love the artwork and just been really liking this series. So Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue 47 gets 4 stars, and that is number 3. Moving on to number 2, which is Family Tree issue 3. This is actually a pretty quick read, but I've been really liking this book. If you don't know what it's about this girl who turns into a tree, and her dad's a tree too, and I guess this is a kind of virus of some sort. We don't really know where it's coming from, and we think that the dad is left, but really the dad just turned into a tree. So it's the grandfather and the mother kind of trying to figure out, what the hell do I do with my daughter? How do I cure this? And realizing that she can't. And this issue, we get to see the daughter figure out her abilities a bit more and actually reconnect with her father within this tree. So I love the arguments between the grandfather and the mother. I think those were really good. I like how we're delving into the mythology more. I really like the artwork as well and the kind of blockiness of it all. So overall, really enjoying this book, and it's a really cool character study, but also has an interesting plot of people turning into trees and how that relates to family. So giving that 4 stars, and that is number 2. Moving on to my pick of the week, number 1 is The Amazing Spider-Man issue 38. So The Amazing Spider-Man, I think this was a big improvement from last arc, and it was just fun. We get to see J. Jonah Jameson working for this new media company and realizing these people that he kind of hates, he's like, you're nothing like me, is exactly like him and how he used to run the Daily Bugle. And now that he knows who Spider-Man is, he's like, that's not me anymore. And he sees that Spider-Man robs a bank. And this could have been a perfect opportunity for a fake headline. But he's like, no, I'm going to find out what's going on with Spider-Man because Peter would never do that. So he goes to find Peter on a scooter, of all things, and saves Peter and then realizes that, okay, I guess he's trying to do what he's doing and in helping people, you know, doesn't look like what it's actually happening. And then Peter ends up telling him, you know, the actual deal, and then he utilizes that as his headline. And he's telling the truth and trying to help, but it's not going well. So I really love the comedy beats of this. We also have this background storyline of this guy who's pretty much gambling on superhero fights, which was interesting. I do think it took a little while to get to the point on that one, and I don't know if I love the dialogue there and kind of the exposition, but I like the idea of it, that people are gambling on superhero fights. I think that's cool. And I'm excited to see where that ends up going, especially since I just saw Uncut Gems like a week or two ago, and it kind of reminded me of that, if you've seen that movie. But yeah, really solid book. I am upset that Ryan Ottley's not on the art here, but the artwork was still really good, and I think the cartoony, don't want to say cartooniness, I think it's two different styles, but I think the work that this artist does, it works really well with the comedy aspect of this issue, so that was really cool, and I think it was a good guest artist. So overall, giving that 4 stars. I thought it was a really solid book, and just plain old fun, and it was cool to see JJ and Peter interacting with each other, and just the commentary on journalism now and before, and how they kind of combined. So I really enjoyed that issue. That's my pick of the week. Give that 4 stars. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Go check out my comics like Father Like Daughter and They Call Her a Dancer. And every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time is Comic Book Weekly, where we discuss our favorite comics and comic book news. So be sure to check that out as well. Thanks, guys.